Welcome, Toffee TV. It's the Daily Live Extra. Yesterday we had the breaking news on it. Was over on Live at 5 on our Toffee TV Premier service. Join it now. The QR code is on the screen. Duncan Ferguson has left Everton Football Club. Very an outpouring of sadness and grief. That was just from him.
Yeah.
But he's left. The right decision, do you think, for Dunk to leave Everton?
Yeah, probably. If he wants to manage, which he does. I think he thought the time was right. He's been obviously. I think he would have probably gone in January had Frank Lampard not persuaded him. Well, he would have gone in January had Frank Lampard not persuaded him to stay. And he's obviously thought about it throughout the season. And Frank Lampard has brought in his own coaching staff.
Yeah.
And there's quite a few of them.
Yeah, there is.
And therefore, if you've got aspirations to manage, what bit of the coaching are you doing when there's so many other voices there? And I think he probably thought of it that way. I think apparently he told the manager at the end of the season he was going or he wanted to go or he thought about leaving, whatever, and they've had conversations throughout the summer. But obviously he's just decided that now's the right time to do it, and he's clear in his mind, I think, that what he wants to do next is the manager's job, and good luck to him. It's a brave decision because he's not walking into another job, so he's going to have to go after things that come available. But he's I think he's just at that point now where it's probably now or never. Yeah. So,
well, you're all like you just said there. When you all say maybe the assistant manager, there is room, isn't there, for your thoughts and ideas to be imprinted on the team through the manager and stuff, But when I think where Dunk found himself was basically the back of the bench, didn't he? And he was probably just doing, just coaching on behalf of the manager, what the manager wanted, and stuff. It was obviously, wasn't in the close circle of the manager. And he's found himself there before, when Silva was at Everton. And he's got his own ideas, because of course he's managed the team on 2 different occasions, and he's got his own ideas of what he wants to do and how he wants to play, and I suppose that he's got that burning ambition. And I think obviously now that we didn't get it the second time, a lot of people thought that he would get the job to the end of the season, and Everton had other ideas clearly. But I think he has to go somewhere and do his own thing now, because otherwise it'll just being part of the furniture, I don't think is enough. And I think we've seen it a little bit similar with David Unsworth, although Unsworth probably didn't go of his own accord when he was in charge of the under-23s and it was his team. Then you can imprint what you want on the players you've got, you're coaching them. But then when Kevin Felwell came in, and there was a larger picture, and everyone was going to be sort of coached the same way and play the same way, and that run through all the age groups. Then suddenly, I think Unsworth suddenly become a follower rather than a leader, and I think for a while for Unsworth that was enough, being the leader of the under-23s and of the academy. But as soon as that's taken off you, I think you have to go and do your own thing. And I think it's the same for Duncan. Hopefully he gets a job sooner rather than later, because obviously it is tough. He's not a manager. He's not a player just come out of the game, and there'll be those kind of people seem to be getting a lot of opportunities. So hopefully he finds somewhere quickly to go in, and hopefully start being able to put his own stamp on wherever he is, because that's so important. Otherwise he'll be sitting around twiddling his thumbs and probably thinking, have I made the right decision? So hopefully something happens for him pretty soon.
Yeah, hope so. And then it's up to him then, isn't it? Go there, go wherever he goes, do a good job and build from there, and then you can, that you've been challenged, then haven't you? You can test yourself properly, and if he does well, who knows, he might end up back at Everton one day as the manager. At least if he's ever in the running again, it'll be because he's done all right. Yeah. And he's got that experience that a lot of people were wary of. So we'll see. Wish him all the best, whatever he does, wherever he ends up. I'm sure he'll do a good job. because he's committed and he works, he works hard and wants to do well. So, it's. I think the club have lost someone important behind the scenes, definitely. Bit of identity as well there, but you got to move on. You've got to move on, so good luck to him. Some breaking news with Richarlison will serve a 1-match ban.
Oh, yeah.
So
should make it 10.
Yeah.
Should make 10.
So, yeah, misses the Southampton game, the opening day of the season at the Tottenham Hotspur Stadium, so there you go. Let's have a look what patrons are saying. What Premier members are saying. But, yeah, big Dunk, off he goes,
So, do you think...
Lost 2 characters, haven't we, over the weekend, really, Richarlison and Dunk.
Yeah.
So
it's a bit of a blow.
Do
you think? So what do you think now for Frank Lampard? Do you think? Because obviously there's a lot of talk of Anthony Barry. That's gone quite quiet, hasn't it? But do you think he'll try and bring someone else in or do you think it, for, as far as he's concerned, it was, it wasn't. It's not as big a loss in terms of the coaching as it was in terms of having someone around the place.
Yeah, I mean, he has tried all summer apparently to change Dunk's mind. You had a few conversations with him, but I don't think the there's a need. I think they tried to get tried to get Anthony Barry in January, couldn't get him, and I think the end of the season they spoke to Chelsea again and the lad, but I don't think Chelsea want him to go.
No,
in Thomas Tuchel's season was vital to what they're doing, so it would rely on the lad then making a fuss to get out of Chelsea. And he's got, is he going to really want to do that?
Yeah.
Right now he's probably with a good, enjoying working there and all that, and he would have come to Everton. He's ex-Everton player, wasn't he? He was a young lad. So I think Frank Lampard will leave it for now.
Yeah.
I think he's got, there's, as it stands, there's Paul Clement, isn't it? Ashley Cole. I can never remember that other fella's name who come in. He was on all the videos yesterday. There's him. There's Joe Edwards as well. So he brought 3 or 4 in himself. He's there. Alan Kelly's still there. It's how many more places you want to fill. He might we'll go with what we've got. And then if they think there's room or there's a need for someone else, he then may go and get someone.
And plus, Frank Lampard's a pretty hands-on kind of coach as well.
Exactly, right now. So
whereas maybe if you've got an older manager who does divvy that out to his coaches, you might need that extra one. But Frank Lampard's, he's there, isn't he? He's coaching himself, and there does seem to be less of a need. But Anthony Barry would have been good because obviously he's got a lot of good ideas and obviously the set pieces as well. So he would have been good, but if he's that good a coach, it's clear that Chelsea don't want to let go of him. Simple as that.
And I'm not saying he definitely won't replace him. I'm just saying when you actually look at the coaching staff at the moment, 4 or 5 and a goalie coach, and then at what point down the line and the coaches do you stop listening?
Yeah, and also we're bringing in a lot of people to the club in the roles in the academy as well. So I think a lot of those. Maybe again, it's that thing of in the past where you've got people doing, a couple of roles within their one role. Well, it would be now. There's so many people within the academy that's not going to That's not going to be the same, I imagine. And Leighton Baines will be able to get on doing his job. Paul Tate will be able to get on doing his job, and you won't need all those sort of in between people. So, if he doesn't need another one, he doesn't need another one, and we just get on with it.
When you think about a coaching staff, though, it is a case of how far down you do go. There's expertise, and I think there's room for that. Jurgen Klopp proved that, didn't he, at Liverpool, with throwing coaches and things like that.
But he brings people in part-time, doesn't he?
Well, it's not just... Yeah, listen, it's been going on for years. Andy Gray used to go in and do coaching a couple of days, training, striker coaching. We see it in Holland quite a lot. We both watched the documentary. Van Persie and I know Dirk Kuyt had done stuff as well, over in Holland, and other, Van Basten in the past, and lots of people have got specialists going in. So, Everton may move to that model. It depends on where they think the issues are, if there is any issues. But Anthony Barry would have been a good one because obviously he's worked with him before, and him being a set piece specialist would have really helped. But maybe that's on Paul Clements. I mean, Clements an interesting one because obviously he was linked linked with the Hibs job, wasn't he, before the end of the season? There was a lot of talk about him and wanting to go back to management, because he's 50, isn't he, as well? He's Dunk's age, isn't he? So
it's weird that, isn't it? 'Cause
50 or 51, so... are we going to see...
Well, maybe he's given us assurances that he's not.
That he's not going
to do
it.
Maybe he's got a bit... Maybe he had a little itch to scratch, but then maybe thought...
Actually...
Some people are good coaches, some people are good managers. It's whether you've got that little extra bit of nous or that little bit of extra authority to lead people and make those tough decisions. And it doesn't always work out for some who are really good coaches. Paul Clement obviously impressed Carlo Ancelotti enough to take him to different European clubs. So and now obviously he's passed that on to Frank. So.
What would you do? Would you look to replace Dunk, or would you?
I don't know, because I don't really know what Dunk's role was within it, and I always felt like it was. Like I want Dunk to be at Everton, but I don't want Dunk to be just at Everton as a token.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? I'd rather he got on with his own career and was happy within what he was doing, even if it was in a lower level. I don't know whether his job role. You always want someone like that around the club, of course you do. You want someone who can, can give you that little bit of something that maybe people coming in from the outside don't know. But then you've got the other side of it, where is he part of the inner team? Do they? You see it all the time. You have these like little meetings and stuff. There's videos and of like when you see them celebrating off the bench, and Dunk looked a little bit lonely towards the back end of the season, just like he was just doing not doing his own thing, but wasn't quite part of the little trust, the brain trust.
He's gone to like the second row, hasn't he?
Yeah, so
haven't been on the very much in the forefront.
That's quite sad. That's not really. That's not really what it should have been. So, especially when you've been the assistant manager and you have been sort of passed over for the man. I mean, when Carlo Ancelotti came, I think we all thought he was getting groomed to be the next manager, and he's been passed over twice for it. And that for him, that clearly hurts him. He clearly thought he was the man to take over from Carlo when Everton were in a good place, seemed to be a good place, and then passed over again. So.
Do you think, in hindsight, and hindsight's dead easy, do you think they should have just given Dunk the job last summer instead of Benitez or what?
Mashiri clearly wants somebody in there who, how he thinks reflects sort of the standard of the club or the level of the club where it should be. And I think without Dunk having any experience, I think that obviously falls down massively. And where the club is off the pitch, he needed that security. It's why, a lot of people say, why would you ever bring Benitez in? He brought Benitez in, from what I could see, because he thought he was a safe pair of hands to get us through the 3 years between then and the new stadium. That's how I always looked at it.
It'd been better with Allardyce.
And that's all it was. It was the Spanish Allardyce at the century. He thought it's going to be a safe pair of hands. He didn't read the room. The financial situation, of course. Now, Dunk could have come in and could have had the same problems, but obviously would have inspired the crowd and probably would have inspired the players. But also, then, what part did Marcel Brands have any part in that? Was he, and it's unfortunate.
Well, Brands wants a Potter.
Well, and we know that, and again,
he wants a Potter. I think he was interested in talking to Gaultier, I think. And there was another couple of younger managers that he wanted. Quite clearly, he didn't back Dunk, I don't think, too much, because I think he might have thought the experience side of it. But the club has been in it. I mean, Marcel Brands' comments the other. Let's talk about them a little bit, because obviously you'd expect them to say stuff like that. A couple of people I spoke to over the weekend were like, it sounds like Marcel, everyone else to blame but me. So that's one way of looking at it. But he was obviously saying stuff that was truth as well, because we know that some of that stuff was true, and the evidence will tell you that some of that stuff was true. So that is I mean, that's where Mashiri has really got it wrong, hasn't he? Just, when you've got someone saying, I had a plan, or what I wanted to do, and yet this fella just kept knocking me off the plan. I mean, that's the big thing that has got to change. If Mashiri's staying, and we don't know whether he is, he seems to think he is, then that's one thing he's got to keep his paws away from. And we've got Frank Lampard now, and I'm led to believe by a couple of different people that the board steered Mashiri away from Vita Pereira. I think Vita Pereira steered Mashiri away from Vita Pereira, but the board, the collective, I say the board, but Tim Cahill involved, that committee we'll call it, steered Mashiri away from another snap decision in January and steered him towards Frank Lampard, and obviously Lampard impressed in his presentation or whatever. And that's what's got to happen, I think, right now until we get a different board, is that Mashiri's got to be kept at arm's length almost, to just go, look, just let these get on with it, mate. Try and find the money and try to do whatever you can to get us a bit more freedom, but just put your factor 40 on, have a martini and just enjoy Monaco. We'll see you in a couple of weeks when the games are on, because a few people were saying it yesterday and think it like what's gone on in the last 6 years. We've almost stood. We're almost back to David Moyes era, where only we had a strong manager and a squad that battled, but back to the thing of having no money. And it's not, we have to be clear, it isn't we haven't got money, because there is a pot of money that we just can't access it, so it doesn't matter really, does it? But we haven't
got money though, because let's get it right.
We're not skint.
We haven't got. But we are technically. We are skint though, because at the end of the day, you look at the balance sheet. The balance sheet says keeps on saying minus 100 million quid.
So we're poor.
So we are poor. If we were a normal business, we'd have gone bust a long time ago. So we are poor. We are. The owner's rich. The club's poor. You've got to separate the two things.
Yeah.
The club is poor.
But what I mean is, if the rules were slightly different,
of course,
we'd have money.
But then that
access, doesn't help, does it?
That doesn't mean anything, though, does it? That doesn't mean anything. Newcastle, Man City, would have lots of money to access. Lots of clubs would have lots of money to access. The club is poor. The owner's rich. Simple as that. That's not. So if the owner decided to just go, I'm never putting any money into this club ever again, then you got to look at it like, I think you've got to look at it like that. The club is run poorly, so therefore that's a massive issue, and that's where we are now. And there's talk of things like the Everton women's stadium's going to have to they'll have to get rid of it and things like that now.
Why is that though?
Because they're clearly leasing. They must be leasing it off the council, I think.
Right.
And it must be just another
expense.
It's an expense that they just can't afford. Now, I don't know where they'd go and where the women's team would play. I don't understand. But that's worrying. Things like that are worrying, and it might be that easy to go, it's just the women's team. But it doesn't matter. That's money coming from Everton Football Club. So, and yet, in my mind, that would be like, no, pull the under-23s out of Southport and put them on that pitch.
Because you're paying for Southport.
Yeah. You're paying a lot of money for Southport, so put them on that pitch.
After two.
But it's the women's team have lost quite a few players this week. So, people might just dismiss that. That's worrying. That's our money. That's money coming from the football club. Now, the football club might just turn around and people can go, oh, don't need that. And it's like, hang on. Yeah, but if they're starting to cut these things, you've got to start being worried about this football club if they're having to go, yeah, we're going to have to cut that, we're going to have to cut that, we're going to have to cut that. That to me is worrying. That to me is like, that means that if a really good bid comes in for Dominic Calvert-Lewin, then he might go, I might have to consider this. We're talking about Brozier yesterday as a replacement for Richarlison. Who's to say Brozier isn't a replacement for Dominic Calvert-Lewin? Because if Newcastle come in and say, we'll give you 65 million for him right now, are Everton in a really, really, really in a position to say no? Like, we might sit here and go, cause we wouldn't sell our best two players. But Mashiri might be sitting there looking at the books, or someone might be looking at the books going, like Trevor Birch did years ago, you've got to sell this lad. Because if you want to sell him in a year's time, on the deadline, he's got one less year contract, and who's to say he's had a good season? Could have had a crap season. He could only be worth 30 million by then. And that to me is the most worrying thing. That to me is, and that they're real facts. He can have as much money as he wants. You know, I had this conversation on Friday on BBC Merseyside with some about the people coming in, the Americans, and saying, oh, they've got, you know, they could have this amount of money, they could have that amount of money. What difference does it make if they don't have any expertise in running a football club or any kind of sporting venture? You know what I mean? Everton Football Club at the moment, it's deady. It's black and white now. We're going to rely on player trading in the next couple of years. That's how clear it is.
Yeah, of course,
because the football club doesn't make any money. The crutch is being removed. The USM crutch is being removed. That was clearly topping up. That was the women's team. That's head to toe in USM stuff and Megaphone and Yachting and the, you know, us went off Mathew and all this stuff. That was all being paid for by them. That money's being pulled. So that might be one of the reasons. That to me is worrying, and it's too easy. It's easy to say the owner's got no money. The rules don't matter. The rules don't care how much money you've got as an owner. They don't care, and that to me is a little bit scary in this period of time, you know. And I think you know, listening to Brands, what he's saying about the football club and saying like this brand, and to be fair, this is like sort of what I've you know said all along about Brand. You know, you've said about his footballing stuff, and that's perfectly legitimate. But if you have got a plan and the fella doesn't let you have the plan, you'll never know how good or bad the plan is if the fella keeps on dropping El Ghazis and Awobis in your laps.
No.
And saying, you know, the comment that struck me more than anything was like, we were trying to get players for 60 and 70 grand, and he wants players for £175,000 a week. Go on, I'll have him. It's like, what are you on about? Like, it's like you.
Is
like,
that what it's happened?
There was like a second one, wasn't there?
Yeah.
And he said, I'm trying to find players for 60 and 70, and he's dropping 100. And he said, what does that do to a dressing room? You know, what does that do?
You're trying to create a culture, aren't you?
You're trying to get the wage cap in there, and suddenly a Wobie walks in for 175 or whoever. I don't know who that was.
It wasn't a Wobie.
No, but that's what it.
No, that's what it is.
How many times were we told? Well, how many times were we told when, you know, a certain Icelandic player came in that we were bidding against ourselves? We were bidding. There was no one else involved, and we kept on going back and upping the offer by 5 million because we hadn't signed them.
Because they were going no. Because they knew we were desperate, so they were going no.
But we weren't desperate.
No, we weren't.
And that's the stupid thing.
That's what I'm saying.
So we're in a position now where the culture has been created, and we're still very much in the middle of that culture it's Kevin Felwell's job, isn't it, to sort of sort that out. But that's going to take time, and it's going to be difficult for the next couple of years, and obviously Brands' buys weren't all particularly very good, and not many of them actually fitted the what Premier League players should look like, and that creates a grey area with any comments he says about the owner. But if your owner keeps it, you know, he mentions people in his ear. You know, how long is it? You know, I think the simple fact is, and this is the simple fact now, it doesn't matter who goes in his ear. Everton can't bring anyone in. I think whereas, you know, I say that I haven't seen El Ghazi walk through the door and back out the door, like Homer Simpson's dad, isn't he? In that meme. But I think now that we obviously clearly have to go to the Premier League and speak to them about every single. There's time to think about. It has to go through a few people for maybe him to just go, I'm having him and I'm having him and I'm having him. It just can't be done. And maybe that's where we get common sense back. That's where we get a system back. That's where Kevin Felwell, Frank Lampard get more of it. Get in charge of who's coming in.
Yeah.
Because actually, there's going to have to be some adults in the room, and clearly Farhad Moshiri isn't an adult, and clearly the people at the top of the club haven't got the bollocks. You know, you've said it loads of times. I've heard it loads of times about Brand saying, well, why didn't he walk?
Yeah.
Why didn't he walk? Well, why don't the people who run the club walk? Why are they still holding the reins of this football club that this fella?
The same reason why Brands didn't walk.
Well, yeah, of course.
Probably not getting the same amount of money anywhere else.
Yeah, and also there probably obviously there's that thing as well of like, number one, there's a responsibility to not let this fella just run away with the place.
I think that's I'd change the board today if I could.
Yeah,
absolutely, in the next half an hour. There is also the flip side. Well, not the flip side, but there is that consideration.
Yeah, of course there is.
Imagine if they went.
No, I understand that. I understand the people who run the club. Obviously,
you'd be looking, going, "What's he doing now?" Because he's turning in to fella off Dream Team, just doing whatever he wants.
He's turned into all of those stories that we saw at other football, the Carson Youngs and all these, all these kind of people. He's turned into one of them. The thing that, as I said the other day,
terrifying.
As I said the other day, when the people were protesting, they never really went too much in on Mashiri because he was the owner and there was no one else buying. I wonder if that'll change because we have seen people potentially coming in and trying to buy the football club. And you mentioned yesterday that he wants to stick around and get it done and go into the new stadium because, of course, the stadium is his.
It's his legacy, isn't it?
That's his thing, isn't he? He cuts the ribbon and.
But he might end up keeping some of it, and he's there to clip the ribbon on day one, and then he.
But we have to get some people into this football club who can really do 100%. Some deals, big deals.
On the back of some of the stuff you were saying there, which is quite interesting. I don't think I'm quite far down the road as you of being worried in the way you are, but there's quite clearly lessons to be learned, and there's quite clearly things that we have to do to make this football club better. But Martin Samuel has wrote a piece talking about workers at Finch Farm who received emails asking for voluntary redundancies. Have you seen this?
This is what's going to happen.
Right. They're not enough takers. Compulsory redundancies will follow. It won't stop the training ground, blah, 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 blah. And then he goes on to say, we'll probably sell Anthony Gordon because we need to. But just a little bit of background on the voluntary redundancies. Everton wants to bring in, it's about canteen staff really. Everton want to bring in more specialised chefs. Frank Lampard wants to raise the standard. And to do that, the same people can apply, but by legal, it's a legal thing, so that you have to offer these people this if you're changing job roles as well. So with anything, there's a little bit of truth in it, and then you spin the story to make it sound like Everton are in a much worse position. Got to sell Anthony Gordon to survive and all that. That, I'm told, is absolutely not the case whatsoever.
Well, of course.
And Anthony Gordon, just to give it a little bit of context as well, and then you can have your say. Everton have used Anthony Gordon on everything.
Yeah.
Because there's no way they're selling them.
The training ground, and if anyone has watched the training video from yesterday, the training ground has to be absolutely top of the tree. It has to be 100%. You've seen it yesterday. I was watching the video last night and I'm looking at some of the machines. I know, it's nice watching Yerry Mina and Dominic Cameron have a little fight and stuff, but both of them will get injured. But I'm looking at some of the machines. I'm looking at some of the specialist machines. I've seen there's a cryo tank in there. There's a zero gravity running treadmill. All these little things that are in there. It's obviously top.
Just before you carry on, what percentage of you, when you're watching Andros Towns with me, you're thinking, lad, that I've just
been talking to Harry, my PT, about the video, and he was like, "What's he doing carrying the bleeding gym?" He's like, "Why's he got all that weight on his knee?" And I was like, "I know," and he's carrying it across, and I'm like, "What are you doing?" Anyway,
They must know. I was just looking, going, but unless it's the other.
It's obviously everything in there is obviously top of the line, the best stuff you can. Of course, you've got to have that. You want to attract footballers, you've got to give the footballers the best treatment possible. You've seen all that with all the physios and all the specialist biometrics and all that kind of thing. Of course, you want the chefs. This is what something like Koeman did, didn't he? Starting with Martinez wanting the sleep pods. Koeman said he didn't want the sleep pods, so he took it and said, that area is going to be just for the players and nobody else, the first team, and now they have a specialist canteen in there. We've seen that ourselves with our own eyes, which is just for the players. So of course there will be all that that stuff has to be, and that stuff is where when people wonder where a lot of the money goes, that's where it has to go, doesn't it?
Yeah, yeah.
The training ground has to be absolutely top of the line.
So you get your marginal gains.
Yeah, it has to be. The facilities have to be absolutely top of the line. When they go to America next week, the facilities have to be unbelievable for them to train in. Everything's got to be covered so that there's nothing, they're not worrying about anything. So I understand that, but and that's where I imagine you have to look for marginal things in other places, don't you? You have to start cutting. You might have to start cutting back in this place and that place. You have to look after the people who are playing football for you at the end of the day. So you've got to think of
every little thing. I know that Frank Lampard and Kevin Thelwell have had a couple of meetings in the close season about what they can change, how they can do their marginal gains, where can we make the little changes, what can we give the players that's going to make it even better. And the catering side is one of the things they both come up with. So Everton are bringing in, it's unbelievable, isn't it? You're a player, you come in, you're getting these chefs now, prepare the stuff the way you need it, but they're getting more and more of that. So that's what Everton are doing with this. So there is a restructuring of the catering.
I thought that's what Ned's job was to do.
To help us get better, yeah.
Have my dinner ready.
He just tries to, make it work.
Have my dinner ready for me.
So all that's happening. So all that is positive. Kevin Thelwell's doing some really important stuff there, because if you can't compete at this end with wages and stuff, you've got to try to compete on the other end.
This is why,
like Brighton do it.
But this is why you do lose millions of pounds. It's because you Everton as a football club have genuinely always lost money in the Premier League era. We've only made money when we sold players, and that is obviously propped up by your owner or your investors or whoever put money into the club, and that's what fired the shit. And this is why it is so important nowadays, so important. And I've been saying it since I had the opportunity to say to an audience about Everton going to America and going tours and getting good sponsorship deals and having, this is, and I have no issue saying this, right? But it winds me up when people say, when people go on like social media and go, where's the kit? Say, right? And then we know why there was a delay this year because of the changing of the sponsorship. But it's when people go, why are you asked? Why is a grown man asked about when the new kit comes out? That to me is a fundamental lack of understanding about the issues of like, why do Liverpool bring their kits out at the end of the season? If it doesn't matter, why would they do it? Why did all the big clubs have all their kits out? Because you have a big deal with a big company, and you have you bring your kit out so that you're hitting markets all through the summer. So by the time the kids are on holiday, say, or going away on holiday, all three kits are out. So that so the kids have all three kits. That's how it works. And when the season starts, your training, when the pre-season starts, your training gear comes out then or whatever. So that there's another thing to buy, and you're justifying why they're giving you millions and millions of pounds over years, and it's all that stuff. Why can you walk into every shop and pick up a shirt, and yet the only one you can't pick up is Everton shirt? All these things that people just go, they're nothing. They're nothing. That doesn't matter. Why grown men worried about football shit? It's like all these things are really important, because it shows people when they do want to come in and offer you deals that you have the ability to sell their product, which is the most important thing at the end of the day. If someone comes to us and says, oh, we've got a boss offer for you, a kit deal or whatever, and then they look at the size of our shop and go, but your shop's tiny. Because it is, our shop's tiny. Our shop at Goodison is absolutely tiny. It's and let's not forget when it opened, it had a little tiny museum. It's tiny. Yeah. So they go, we can't get any stock in there. So actually, if we can't get any stock in there, it's all these little things that really fund, because that's what funds. Yeah, your TV deal, which we've been relying on for years and years and years, and your commercial stuff, which we are terrible at, like absolutely terrible at. And you need that stuff, and until that, and it's people. That's what there's people's jobs at the club to bring that money in, and they're not bringing it in, and that's where all these other clubs are running away from us. And we've been saying it for ages. We sound like broken records, of course, But that's why we're going to continue to lose money every single year. And with the FFP and with the way it is now and the rolling 3 years, we might have some little hard lessons to learn. Well, we've just seen one with Charlison, so they've got that kind of stuff. They've got to get better at, much better at. Well, very extremely better at.
Yeah, absolutely. Some of our Premier members are saying. Carl says, looks like El Ghazi's available for loan. Do you want Carl?
Yeah. It's your fault if he comes.
Your fault. Tom Newton says, all right, fellas, only just watched the live back last night. But as you said, obviously I haven't watched Everton for the last 20 years when I said this current squad is the weakest since 03-04. Obviously that was tongue-in-cheek, Tom, what I said to you. I do think my opinion will have changed by the end of the window. I'm normally not too negative, but I'm just saying it now. Bear in mind, we've lost Dean, Hammers, Sigurdsson and Ritchie. But actually, the Allardyce Koeman squad is possibly worse, but Moyes and so forth.
Richarlison's actually half Finch fan today.
I believe so, yeah. Crying. Well, they should have banned him and allowed him anywhere near the club. He's dead to us now.
I mean, he's not dead, is he? I mean, that's a...
To us?
I mean...
Doesn't exist to me anymore.
Right. It's a bit harsh.
No, it's not. It's not.
Right.
Dean says haven't... no, I'm saying no. Peter says... no. Man, I'm not seeing that. Oh, go on. I thought there was going to be a spoiler in it for Stranger Things, but there wasn't. Peter said this question will define this century.
Oh, yeah.
Well, that's giving you the opportunity.
I know what the question is.
Stranger Things or the Umbrella Academy?
It's Stranger Things by a country mile. Umbrella Academy's good. I like it. But Stranger Things is just like... Baz doesn't even know what the Umbrella... Baz thinks Umbrella Academy is like no one knows shows like the Sewing Bee, where you have to make things, or like the Great British Bake. He thinks that's what it is.
I put it on for 11 minutes. It's all right. At the first 11 minutes. Good, it hasn't made me want to go back to it.
It's good you can, but Stranger Things is like,
you can't.
It's like one of the greatest TV programmes of all time, as far as I'm concerned.
It's amazing. Daniel O'Connor says, would you take Lookman back? It's young, talented, English Premier League proven, but questions about his attitude.
Proven?
He's available on loan again, isn't he? Nah. Leipzig are just trying to...
Not for me.
Get shut, aren't he? Dave Wild says, what level of team do you think Dunk will accept as the next stage of his development? Do you think he'd go to League Two? I think it depends what the challenge is, doesn't it? Mm-hmm. I think if you Dunk, you've got to be dead careful with what you take next. I think there's no point going in somewhere, right, where there's no money. And listen, these League 2 and League 1 haven't got money anyway, but some of them are in a worse position than others. Some are like, the way Bury have been, or the way Oldham are at the moment and things like that.
What about...
Got to be dead careful.
What about Derby County? They giving anyone the job?
No, it's available, but would he give it to him? I don't know. And have they got that takeover sorted now?
Yeah, apparently it's done,
got done, so they'll have ideas. I don't know. Derby would be a fantastic job for him, League 1. Huge, big football club, because they are. Great history on them, for a League 1 club. Well supported. Be a fantastic first job, but whether he'd get it, I don't know. But I think a stable club is the biggest thing for Dunk, and then he can go in and put his stamp on it then. Be interesting to see who his backroom team would be. That'd be interesting. So... But I think as long as the challenge was a decent one for him, and he wasn't going in somewhere where both of his hands are tied behind his back, I think he'd be okay.
That would be a difficult job.
That's a difficult... You'd have to do everything with your feet then, wouldn't you? Like point to the board and your tactics with your feet would be difficult. Brian Murray says he hope Dunk brings his mentor with him and offers him a job, maybe advisory capacity, wherever he goes. Tony Manley says, hi guys, just joined Premier to support the channel. Love the content. I look forward to the daily videos.
Cheers.
Thanks, Tony, top man. Appreciate it, mate. Barry says, alright fella, seeing the pictures of Richarlison back at Finch Farm with tears in his eyes. Is he really that bothered? He can back and go.
He looks quite bothered. Look at his eyes, they're all red. And
no, looks like he's made up. Looks like he's like, it's Gomez will be like that. It's like, lads, you got away. He was sweet the other day.
I didn't think it was as bad. I think it was...
What was the point?
I think it was lost in translation.
Well, it better that do.
I think Ned made it bad.
Yeah, probably. Okay.
I think Ned was just looking for a fight.
Probably. It's classic Ned. Where was I? I was up to Curly 24. If we signed Sangari, Loftus-Cheek and Noni Maduke, we'd be amazing. We would. It cost us a pretty penny, but we would. Mind you, Sangari, 25 million off the PSV. So, if you got 25 million and you paid it over 5 years of 5 million each season, or over 4, it'd be worth it. It'd be worth a go. He'd definitely make us, way better. Noni Maduke as well. Looks, he's still hot and cold in, by the way, but he is someone who he's quick and go by players. He can be moulded. And I think the thing with Maduke as well is he is one where you develop and then you either grow with him or you sell him, and that's the kind of play. And Loftus-Cheek, I'm not he's 26 now, and he's still for me. In your mind, or certainly in my mind, I still think he's like 22, 23. You're going, potential. 26, he should be established by now. Good footballer on his day, definitely. But the other two, you could probably get the other two for like 45 million, which is a lot. But when you're amortising it, Everton could probably get away with that, and they would improve Everton, definitely. But brands sell them to us.
Ned? Yeah. Are you like going to do something there or what? What do you mean? What's going on?
Does he not bit Richarlison? What was that?
Honest to God.
Brian says, Mashiri, we know is a terrible judge of character. We know if he listens to crucial thing is, has he learned his lesson? Time will tell, won't it? James says, under 23s is rubbish being in Southport. My granddad always took me and my brother to the 23s of Widnes. Easy way to get young kids involved, supporting the club, but driving an hour to Southport is a bit crap. Should be at, like Ped said many times, should be at Walton Hall Park, close to Goodison, and that's where they should play. A purpose-built stadium there. There's no reason, in my mind, why they should go up to all the way up to Southport. I honestly don't get it. I don't get it.
I don't understand it. I don't understand when you've got a ground that's your ground.
For now.
Yeah, and you're playing. It's 5 minutes away from Goodison Park. Why you wouldn't play there? I just don't get it. No. I don't understand. Unless there's something in the contract, or it's got to be women's only, or something. I don't understand. Said this from day one. Typical Everton thinking again. They complicate things with there'll be a reason. Oh, there's this or that, or there isn't the facilities. Well, why didn't you build the facilities then? There's always something. There's always something. If there's an opportunity, if the 23s have to play somewhere, it shouldn't be Southport. We shouldn't be paying for their pitch. No. It should be our pitch where a couple of thousand people can go and watch it. That's it. That's the top and bottom of it. And you attract local kids then to go and watch these kids playing. To me, it's typical Everton thinking, overthinking.
Kev Rob says, I love Duncan Ferguson. Hope he comes back as manager one day up the Toffees. Carl says, interesting regarding redundancies. I was thinking the other day we should renegotiate terms with existing players and reduce wages, Keane, Holgate, etc. Although I hope we can sell them ideally. It'd be a signal of intent and might help us to get them to think of transfers elsewhere. It's easier said than done with players though. Really, I don't know how. They'd have to be a willingness to do it, and why should you? Trevor Irion says it, no way lads, I'm a doctor of physical therapy in the US and I was made up to see Andros loading that much weight through his knee. At this stage it's quite alright. Okay, fair enough. I was just looking at it thinking, but fair play. Tony says, just swear football for a sec. How good was Stranger Things season 4? I haven't finished it. I've started volume 2, so I'm not that far from the end of it. Can't wait for the last episode of The Boys this Friday. Could be mind-blowing too. But Stranger Things season 4 is a masterpiece. Richard Parr says, afternoon lads, do you think we'll keep Delhi this summer? Personally, I'd be looking to get rid ASAP. It would be looking to at signing for 20 million from Tottenham as a good deal, not a chance. Well, he isn't 20 million at the moment, is he? So it's not even 10 million at the moment. Hayden says, good morning lads, has selling Richarlison bought us any wiggle room in the transfer budget, or are we honestly considering selling Dom and Gordon? No. Well, look, what you've got to remember, Hayden, with the financial situation is that these journalists will double down on it because it's a story for them. It's a story to keep going, oh, Everton are this, Everton are that. So it's just easy content for them at the moment, so let them do it. Phil says, do you see us getting a number 6? I hope so, but I really don't know because I don't know what his ideas are. Also know, spoke to someone last night and I was told that they're working on a couple of things, but nothing's imminent as of last night. So, I don't know whether they'll come to fruition this week or whatever. Ideally, it would be good if they could get another one over the line this week because they're going to America, at the weekend, aren't they? So, Hayden Gaskill says, I'd love to see Dunk at Rangers or Celtic.
He's not going to
go to Celtic. He might go to Rangers, maybe. But we'll see. Tommy F says, Ola, what are your thoughts on Ben Godfrey as a DM?
Again, we talked about this yesterday. It's hard to say because we've never seen him really play in the Premier League. I like him as a centre-back because of his pace and because of his power. I do think he's got a lot to learn about defending. But I think, I think, again, it's that thing of like, I'd rather, if I had the option, I'd rather go out and buy one, like a proper one. But have we got the funds or whatever? But no one's played. He's been a Goodison for 2 seasons, and no one's tried him there once, have they? I don't think. We've put Holgate in there, but we've never tried them since. And I think that's just because in the modern day, you need that kind of pace, and we don't really have it. And also the strength. He's the size of the fella, like he's a big fella. But then seeing Tarkowski in those videos, he looks a bit of a unit as well, doesn't he? He looks
big lad.
Yeah, so
big lad, yeah.
It's going to be interesting, but I'd rather buy someone that was their defined role. But
yeah, I mean that's what he did. Too. Didn't he? The Mega Toffee says we shouldn't. The Mega Toffee says
Mega Toffee.
We shouldn't be after Bros yet, but go after Dennis. He's a brilliant player, has more goals, plus deserves a second chance.
Dennis has been left off Watford's pre-season tour to Austria. So is Sarr, Messina and Rose to negotiate transfers.
They're trying to get shut of them, aren't they?
Oh, yeah,
They need to reduce the wage bill by 30%. So they're trying to get them up the door.
But the good news for Watford is Elton John said he's going to have more of an active role.
That is good.
You're not leaving after all. Apologies. Some ears have just gone.
Yeah,
boom!
Mine, and I'm next to you. Freaking hell, mate. It's terrifying. Truly terrifying. The thing with Emmanuel Dennis, right? The thing with Emmanuel Dennis is he's 4 years older than Brozier. Last season was an outlier in terms of his goals.
Yeah.
It's the most he's ever scored in a season. 20 million quid. Don't get me wrong, he looks like a lively player. Brozier's still got loads of room to grow. Not saying Dennis hasn't. Brozier's still got loads of room to grow. So, we'll just have to see. We'll see. Might not get either of them.
Glenn Watson says, Ped, do you have a man cave? Yes or no?
Just see that on the
This is the man cave. We'll wait and see what the man cave looks like in that thing. So we'll wait and see if it has any look of this place. I think we'll have to get onto the solicitors, I suppose.
Why?
Just
because you're not happy. We haven't given consent.
We haven't given consent.
Corin says, hello, Ped and Baz. I'm gutted that Duncan has gone. But I hope we sign some players in the right positions. Yeah, got to. Stephen Lee says, my cousin Leanne, she's a red. I'm trying to turn her head. Help us out, lads. Hello, Leanne. The problem is, right, I don't know how can we persuade Leanne to stop supporting a club that wins trophies? It's difficult, Stephen. I admire your steadfastness in trying to get her to change. but I think it'll be difficult. Brainrat says 40 million plus Gomez for Dennis and Sarr. I would not be wasting that kind of money on them. Them two, you do know them two played for Watford, who were relegated, don't you? Just so you know.
Crazy.
It is mad how other people's players get thingy. You know, one, if you're going to go one of them, maybe, yeah. But not both of them. Tazil says, I've got in ear headphones. I think my eardrums just burst. You can always trust Ped to wreck your ears.
Got to make sure that you're still listening. I just have.
Yeah. Who knows? Derek says, realistically, how much can we spend this summer? Don't know.
£8.50.
Don't know. Barry says another great result for the team on Saturday, still undefeated, wearing the new shirts. Of course. The new shirts. Well in, Baz, keep it going.
He's right, mate.
I expect nothing less.
Well, and if there is,
you'll be getting called in for a board meeting.
Yeah.
Dave Gilbert says, hello lads, would you take a better known sponsor for less money to get the club more reach and get DCL on ads to promote it? I don't think they could at the moment, could they? They've had to take as much money as they possibly could.
No, I don't think they could afford to do that. I think there can be a time and a place to do that kind of thing, but I don't think Everton can do that at the moment. We need money. We need money. Simple as that. Everton would have, probably anyone on the front of the shirts at the moment if it meant more money, which as we've seen this season. So.
Nick says, well said, Ped, regarding our financial situation. You're right about Sigurdsson. I play golf with Lee Deneen's dad, ex-vice chairman of Swansea in Spain, many times regarding the signing of Sigurdsson. Our bid beat everybody by a country mile. Wouldn't touch Lingard with a barge pole. We are the last resort because of the financial position. But he's going to West Ham, apparently. They're going to announce it in the next 48 hours. Apparently, it's done. Or he's going for his medical or whatever, so... Derek says Umbrella Academy Season 3 went under the radar with Stranger Things coming out. Tom says I'd defo have Gibbs White. He'd finally be a proper Barkley replacement, in my opinion.
25 million.
It just seems the standard now, doesn't
it?
No matter where they are, that's just the standard price. Wolves, I think, would be made up with 25 million for them. They've got no money either, have they? Apparently. So, we'll see. Drop a like on the stream. Thank you very much.
United have bought the lad from Feyenoord.
Malacia.
Yeah.
Gone through, yeah.
New left back.
Yeah.
Shaw can get back to Greggs.
I'd be loving it. He'd be loving it. Yeah, he's not having him for a second. Ten Hag won't be having Luke Shaw. Tazul says Gomez is usually responsible for 50% of the goals he concede by losing the ball in the dangerous areas. Other than that, 50, it's great.
He doesn't play that. He doesn't play enough games to be 50.
No. And Aaron says weird how Everton never managed to sell average players for 25 million.
It's weird.
It is crazy. We don't sell anyone, do we? For them kind of things. Tommy F says Stranger Things is amazing, but tainted by the fact Millie Bobby Brown is a red. Yeah, I did lose
there is that.
There is that. Like for it after when you ruined it for
there is that, yeah. There is that.
But there you go.
Although the other kid spent his summers in West Derby. What's his name? With the guitar.
Yeah.
Can't think of his name right now, but
for him, yeah.
Yeah, so that evens it up. But she went on Hot Ones a couple of weeks ago and said there needed to be more Scouse accents in Hollywood, but then basically said it's because of Stephen Gerrard. So I hope I hope the chicken wings really made us sick.
She's a biff. There you go. Like, so refresh our Premier members one more time, and then we're done. We're done. We've got a video coming out today on YouTube. Some ideas for who might replace Richarlison. The little chat me and Ped had. So check that out. Subscribe if you haven't. Joe Briggs says, any chance of James coming back on less wages? Would you want him back? Wonderful footballer. I'd have him back if he come back on like 35 grand a week or something, or 50 grand a week. What about this? Laypack hit £9.35 today in supermarkets. It should be £4. It's now £9.35.
Jesus Christ.
It's bonkers, isn't it? In France, they riot.
Yeah,
If bread goes up by 2 cents, they absolutely riot. And here, they just keep putting it up. We're soft as shite here.
Chemtrails make us... We've got MPs sexually abusing people and all kinds, and no one says anything. And they defend them. That's what makes it even worse. They just defend them and go, oh yeah, don't worry about it.
Right, we'll do this little bit of breaking news before we finish. If you give the stream a like. No, I'm going to do only messing. Peter Kenyon's consortium have released a statement to address takeover talks following confusion. I'm sure Ned's got this all out anyway for us.
Yeah, Ned.
The US consortium has been attempting to strike a deal to acquire Everton from Farhad Moshiri. They say they remain interested in taking over, but won't be making any further public statements on the matter. On Friday, it was revealed that the consortium, headed by Manchester United and Chelsea CEO Peter Kenyon, had seen bids to take over hit trouble. Sources close to owner Farhad Moshiri claimed the deal was dead, and the Everton owner was now looking at other options. But those close to the Kaminsky Group, I mean, who are these people close to the Kaminsky Group, said that the bid was still live and that they remained the only show in town. The position as of Monday from the group was that there had been further conversations between the two parties over the weekend. However, in another turn of events, the vehicle that was used to purchase Everton and acquire a portfolio of clubs, Camp Sports LLC, released a statement on Tuesday afternoon stating that they remained interested but regretted the takeover bid being carried out in such a public manner. A statement read, as general principle, we prefer to conduct our business in private.
So why didn't you
to create the fairest environment for those involved, and in this particular situation, to minimise the uncertainty for Everton fans. It's regrettable that this has not been possible. We respectfully remain interested in acquiring the club, as we believe its fans deserve nothing less than the best, and our offer to achieve this stands. However, in consideration of all Everton fans, we will not be making any further public comments at this time. The stance of the two groups heading into the weekend remains the same, with other potential bidders understood to be watching developments, and Moshiri now able to engage due to the exclusivity period with Kenyon Group has now expired.
There you go. Right, we'll be talking more about that at 5 o'clock on Live at 5 on Toffee TV Premier. So we'll see you later. Bye.
Bye. Hit the like, subscribe. Bye.